Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Welcome back to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with me, Karl Fitzpatrick. The ACORN tablet is a product aimed to combat loneliness and isolation amongst the elderly population in Ireland. Philip Hogan from the ACORN Project joins us now to tell us more. Philip, before we discuss the ACORN Project, tell us about your own career to date.
Well, my background, I spent 26 years in telecommunications in the software industry, had the benefit of founding a company in Dublin, a company called OpenNet, and grew revenues there to about 100 million plus. And as a consequence of that, looked for new projects and found myself engaged in the ACORN Project.
So what is the ACORN Project all about?
Well, the ACORN Project is as a result of meeting with a geriatrician, a professor of geriatrics here in Dublin. We got to know each other, and he talked to me a little bit about the challenges of some of the people that he was that were attending his clinic, specifically challenges of social isolation and loneliness, and how connectivity and communication with the outside world was becoming a problem and leading to health negative impacts. As a consequence of that, we looked at solutions that might help the older population, and Project ACORN came out of that. And essentially, it's a platform that allows folks digitally connect and become digital citizens in an Irish context, connecting to all the services that digital media offer today.
So what was the outcome of the ACORN Project?
Well, it took us the best part of 3.5 years to build the solution. We were back and forth with members of the Older Persons Councils, with community volunteers. And the consequence of this was a tablet, a smart tablet design, perfectly positioned for an age-friendly market. And in the trial process, we had people from the ages of 56 all the way through to 93 participate, over 120 people across the country, who informed the design of this product so it was relevant to their lives. And for emphasis, it was important that this wasn't a product for people who just needed to communicate, but rather something that enabled them to go online, to see all the available services in their community, to essentially act as younger populations are doing today with digital devices.
So, Philip, in a nutshell, ACORN is an age-friendly smart tablet. But talk to us about the technology behind this.
Well, we spent a considerable amount of time looking at that technology as well. It was very important that the experience of the user was age-friendly from the very outset. It wasn't about putting an app on an existing tablet, which some vendors have attempted to do, because the issues and concerns older people have, or folks less familiar with technology have, is the experience is difficult from the outset. Understanding how settings work, understanding how they interact or can change things. It needs to be a holistic experience, that when they pick up the tablet, they're not intimidated from the very outset, that things are intuitive and easy to do. So we built a tablet where we have common design that goes through the entire platform. So if you're sending an email, it'll feel very much like how you set up a calendar appointment. It'll feel very much like how you took a photo, that the experience is roughly the same as we move through the tablet. Now, obviously, we also house and can supply third-party applications like Facebook and Netflix and these things. And they are their own interface, but where we have control over the basic digital services, it's very intuitive.
And of course, with a view to promoting an active lifestyle and to prevent isolation, especially rural isolation, you've also added an awful lot of local events to the calendar feature within the tablet itself. Talk to us about where you're getting the information for this from.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So the information we're taking, we work very closely with the local authorities. We found that the age-friendly network here in Ireland is exceptional. They have done great work and are actually standard bearers in a European context for improving the welfare of older citizens in the country. And we've worked very closely with Age-Friendly Ireland over the course of the last couple of years with a view to helping garner information from them that we can present to folks through the calendar setting. And what that means is, and this is where it becomes very relevant to the Irish market, when you set the tablet up, you specify what county you're in, and then that creates a derivative amount of information based on that county. So if you're in Louth or Fingal or Wicklow, then the information that we're going to push to that tablet will be relevant to you. The product was built with 3 tenets in mind. First, inform people, make it easy to get information. So we have a map of Ireland. You can put the newspapers and the websites that are of interest to you news-wise. The second thing we look at is interaction. Make communication very easy for people digitally, and that's both socially, so chatting and video conferencing, and also formally, where email and the simple interface for email is important. And lastly, we have involve, and that's the important part and what you're referring to. How do we get people active in the community, staying committed to the social infrastructure around them, and using a digital platform to do that?
And what is your route to market with this product, Philip?
Well, today we're online, so we're working with folks who are looking out for mum or dad as a potential purchase option, and that's how we've kind of set up as a soft launch of the product, which happened in the last month. However, we're also in conversation with a national distribution network. Probably a little early for me to talk about it online at this point until we seal the deal, but it will give us an ability to put a tablet very close to people in their local community.
And have you thought about how this technology can be used elsewhere?
Yes, in fact, we've already participated in a number of derivative projects, and I think this is why an Irish product for an Irish market has its benefits. The first thing we've done is we've looked at a project with the Mater Hospital supporting what we call assisted discharge. And this is an opportunity where folks who are post-acute care can leave the hospital, return to the home, but they are being monitored remotely by the clinicians within the hospital using the ACORN as a base product to do this. And we had a very successful trial in 2018 where we had a number of people who were able to return home. And what's noticeable about that is that for the patient's benefit, returning back into the house is the right thing to do. It increases the likelihood of independence and improves the rate of well-being. From a hospital perspective, it is a more efficient use of the resources and the teams there, and it connects everybody, and it brings the person back into the community where they're likely to improve. The other project worth mentioning is we worked with Local Link in County Meath, where we introduced an online booking system that integrated directly into the calendar so that somebody who needs to get access to Flexibus or a Local Link service could enter their details and it would be digitally connected. And this, again, is important because it's bringing that digital experience into people who would have previously been either afraid to do it or a bit confused by the whole system.
And in terms of developing this technology further into the future, what does your roadmap look like in that respect?
Well, it's a pretty busy roadmap. We're very keen to work in a number of key areas. So when we built the product, we looked, in terms of sustained independence for people, we looked at 5 areas. The progress of health is really key. Obviously, many people are well, but some are unwell, and we're looking at addressing well-being and helping those that may be unwell in the context of health. We're looking at sustained independence, so that's about transport. How can we make it easier to get about? And there are some ideas that are floating around, both in government at national level and also within the community around volunteer services for transport, and we're seeing how can we integrate those ideas into our platform. Finance, we've been talking with the banks about simplifying banking interfaces. There are things happening in Europe where we know we can improve, make it easier for people who don't bank online, of which there are quite a few, that they can at least see access to their data and give a sense of security around their monies that are coming in. We're looking at security as a big issue where there are very sophisticated security systems in terms of pendants, but we're also looking at a subtle level where you have, and we've actually introduced a button, a red, green, amber button, where you press it and it informs a small list of people that you have in your circle that you might be a little anxious. So it's very good, particularly in a rural setting where you might be worried if you're an individual living alone. And lastly, communication. So that's something we've pretty much cracked the nut on, but we continue to look at how we integrate, make it easy for people to communicate over email, make it integrate better service for WhatsApp, and our own digital communication systems. We have a messaging and a video conferencing system that works there. So those 5 areas we'll continue to push on, working with industry and local players, credit unions, banks, to build kind of essentially a platform that is very specific and relevant to older Irish people.
Philip, finally, what are your international expansion plans for the ACORN project?
Well, it's a great question, because needless to say, we actually got some exposure, believe it or not, down in the United Arab Emirates recently, because one of representatives had been speaking at a conference there, and they were very interested in supplying the tablet to all their citizens over 65. I'm not so sure the government could do the same for us, because we don't have much oil reserves in our part of the world. But we do see the application, and we are talking to a number of organisations who are represented here in Ireland, but also have established premises or facilities across Europe. And our intent is, through partnership, to work with some of those companies. But our core focus is Ireland today. I'm very keen. I spent my career travelling around the world. I set about this project to help an Irish population with an Irish challenge, and until that problem, in my mind, is solved meaningfully, my interest abroad will be limited.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Philip Hogan from the ACORN Project, and I would like to thank Philip for joining me on this morning's show.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
South